Welcome back to Best Kept Secrets. I am Dawn Lede, your host, here with the Lifehouse Project. And today we have our guest, Peggy Bareh, and she is a pain to gain motivator and author of I Am Thriving Now, soon to be released next Wednesday. Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you, Dawn. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today.
We are so thrilled to have you here. We must say congratulations on the new book.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Now, Peggy, you call yourself an ambitious abuse survivor. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, an ambitious abuse survivor is a survivor of abuse with a dream in their heart, aspirations in their heart, purpose in their heart that has been taken away by the impact of abuse. And so they're living this life so empty, so confused, so lost, as if they have nothing to offer. Meanwhile, they've got treasure within them to give to the world. So those are the people that I support to help them to release that treasure and be who they were born to be.
Yes, it's like a drive. You awaken a drive to know that they can have a different life.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, people go through this thing called life. I always describe it as this thing called life. People will come into our life, the good, the bad, the ugly. They're going to mess up our life. Some people are just going to make a massive mess and then they walk away. They kill your dream. They kill your self-esteem. They take away your confidence. They take away your voice. They take away your identity. They take away your power. They take away everything that you could possibly own, and they leave you with an emptiness. They empty you. And so I always say, what happens when they go? Do you sit and wait for them to come and clean up the mess that they made? Or do you wake up and dust yourself and clean up that mess? That is the question that I always ask abuse survivors. And that is where I always begin from, to help them know that, yes, the mess have been made. Yes, they've come into your life. They've made that massive mess. But now you own the brush. You own the dustpan. You can easily sweep your life to any standard that you want.
And so is this a process that you yourself went through?
Absolutely. I went through that process, and my own mess that I made or that I had in my life was more from childhood. I went through a lot of childhood abuse, childhood trauma that, took away my self-esteem. It kind of took away my power. I grew up as a very lonely child, very fearful child. I grew up, with no value. And I carried that mentality into my teenagehood, where I was seeking for validation. I was seeking for love, for someone to just tell me that I love you, because that is the language that I never heard when I was growing as a child. And as a teenager, for me, seeking for that validation, seeking for affection, seeking for love, I ended up with teenage pregnancy, which again, it took away my pain because I was humiliated. I was called all sorts of names, the names that they were brand girls, or you're a prostitute, you can't look after yourself. But they don't understand. They didn't understand where I was coming from. So again, it took away that self-esteem that I grew up feeling so empty. Then I moved from that teenagehood into my adulthood when I got married, and I was happy. And I was like, oh, finally, I found someone whom I will love. I finally found a soulmate. But then the pain, the emptiness, the devaluation, the low self-confidence that I carried from my childhood into my teenagehood, I brought it into my relationship. Because if you don't love yourself as an individual, you can't give love. If you don't value yourself, people cannot value you. And so I lived in that relationship just always at the low end, I was like a doormat for my partner to kind of walk over me. And then that is when I finally mustered that courage to leave that relationship, that is when I said, you know what, this is it. This is where I've got to turn things around. This is where I've got to break free. This is where I've got to stop being a doormat. I need to find who I am and be who I was born to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because you really did, from as early as, basically from when you were born, you were devalued and rejected and even tortured for for a medical condition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say, if I was given the chance to only suffer maybe from that rejection from the community, maybe it would have been better. But I was born with a leaking valve, a medical condition, a heart problem. But in the community where I grew up, it wasn't diagnosed properly. They didn't even know what was wrong with me. And so I was so fragile. I was so always sick, in and out of hospital. And people labeled me a kind of I don't know, they call it obanje, which in my local language, it means an abnormal child, a child from an underground war, So people look at me as if I don't belong. Parents even want their kids not to play with me.
Like you were cursed or something?
Yeah, they look at me as if I was a cursed child.
Mm.
So parents actually told their kids, oh no, don't play with her, don't go near her, she's gonna drop dead, and I don't want to take the blame. And they gave me a nickname, half dead or walking dead. And so I went to school. I grew up as a lonely child in school. In school, I was segregated from other kids. So I would play with myself. People would bully me. Other kids would bully me. They would call me names. And so I grew up so fearful about who I was. I didn't even know who I was. And as a way of treating me, they said my heart has been eaten by witches and wizards. So they said I didn't have any heart. And as a way of giving me a new heart, I needed to eat animal hearts. And so as a child, as young as 10, 12, I watched horribly how animals were killed in front of me, and the heart pulled out of the animal, and the heart chopped, sliced or diced, and then forcing them in my mouth to swallow, with a hope that it's going to replace my heart. And that torture, I tell you, that experience, even right now that I speak, I feel numb because it was so painful. It was so hurting. Another procedure, apart from that, was incision. Every day, the doctors, the traditional herbalists, they use like a razor, a sharp razor, to put incision on my body. Even now, I can see the marks all over me. It reminds me of those years of pain. I cried, I wept, I begged for death to take me. I just wanted to die, but it didn't come. Death didn't come. And so all of that it reduced me. It made me feel like I didn't belong in this earth. Yeah.
And that led to the seeking for love and seeking for validation you never received.
Yeah.
And into emotional and verbal abuse from partner, husband, teen pregnancy. And then 4 years ago, you said enough.
Enough. I said enough, because sometime in life when we live life, you've heard about what they say, family abuse or family curse. No, they call it family curse, right? It's been passed across generation to generation to generation. And here I was thinking to myself, I don't want this thing to happen to my children. I don't want this thing to pass over. I want to break this cycle. Whether you call it curse or whatever, I just want to break it. And for me to go out and break that cycle, or to begin that cycle to break it, it was to begin with me. I needed to change me. I needed to go deep into me and ask myself, Peggy, what are the things that you didn't learn as a child? Who took away your value? How can you get it back? Who took away your voice? How can you get it back? And so I started to work on me, because I knew that the solution was with me. And indeed, the solution was with me. When I cultivated that mindset and I started the process, that is when the whole miracle began. And that is where I am today.
It's beautiful. And now you share that awareness, that those tools that you wish you would have had and created for yourself, you're able to share those with others.
Yes, absolutely. When I started my recovery process, you know, when you go out and people tell you, oh, Peggy, yes, you've gone through that. Just let it go. Move on with your life. Get a grip of yourself. But they don't realize how difficult it can be. Yes, I know that I need to move on. I know I need to unlock my happiness. I know I need to get a grip of myself. But how do I do it? How do I do it? I wanted someone to show me how do I do it. And for me, trying to get that answer, that response to how do I do it, that is how I came up with a strategy which I call I Am Thriving Now. These are 14 letters, and each letter is a step towards turning our pain into gain. It's a step towards turning our trauma into triumph, towards moving from barely surviving to thriving, you know. So these steps changed my life, and it has changed the life of hundreds of other women that I've been supporting. And so I thought to myself, this is something that I can write it down and share it with the whole world, so that other abuse survivors like me can also benefit from it and transform their own lives. Not just their lives, the lives of their own children as well.
So to leave a legacy of healing and comfort and support.
Yes, absolutely.
So good. So now, tell us about pain to gain.
Pain to gain, sometimes, you know, people kind of attribute pain to more like physical. If I say pain, people they see the physical first. They see the wounds, they see the scars. But the pain that we face the most is emotional pain. The pain of emptiness, the pain of low self-esteem, the pain of low confidence, the pain of guilt, the pain of self-blame, the pain of worthlessness. All those pains, the pain of depression, the pain of anxiety, the pain of fear. These are all pain, and they hold our life hostage. And so how can we transform this pain into gain? Let's take, for example, I was a passive person, right? I couldn't dare to say no. I was always pleasing people because I was so scared to say no. So that pain of passiveness, how could I turn that pain into gain? And for me to turn that pain into gain, I had to teach myself how to be assertive. I had to teach myself to start saying no, right? And that gave me power. And I eventually transformed that pain of passiveness to assertiveness. I call myself an assertive and confident woman today. When I go somewhere and people ask me, Peggy, who are you? I say, I am a confident and a loving woman. I'm speaking to the masses and I'm leading my example. 4 years ago, I couldn't dare say that. But today, I can boldly say that because I have transformed that pain of passiveness, that pain of low self-esteem into pain of assertiveness, and into gain of assertiveness and gain of self-confidence. And that is what I want to help other women as well to come to that level.
Yeah. So anyone that is out there maybe suffering like you were, that don't have or don't know about these tools. Maybe they're feeling like you know, there's not support or knowing. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that anywhere you are in the world, there is support somewhere. There is support available around you and all around you. But the first thing that you need to do is to, first of all, acknowledge that what you're going through is not right. You've got to come to that point where you say, you know what, I've had enough of this thing. I've had enough of someone treating me this way. I've had enough of me letting myself go through this thing. And then when you get to that point of having enough, then open your mouth and speak. Speak up. Ask for help. You'll be surprised that just by talking to someone, there will be that solution standing there to help you, you know. So, and I encourage everyone, every person that is listening to me, there is help out there. Just get the courage, muster that courage within you to, first of all, say enough is enough, acknowledge it, and then ask for help. I think that is the beginning process, and then the rest can follow.
Yes. So when you say, I am thriving now, I know the letters stand for different steps in the process, but do you consider thriving the step after, like, victim to survivor to thriver?
Yeah. They move from when you know who you are, when you know your self-worth, when you know your power, when you know your value, your identity, then you have the potential to move from that point of surviving, trying to cope. Because most of the time, survivors of abuse or abuse people, those who have gone through abuse or pain, we live life just hanging on. We don't know if the next day we're going to see the next day. We don't know how the next day is going to be, because we can't see the brighter future ahead of us. But when you actually know who you are, then you have the power to move from that point of barely surviving to thriving. And when you thrive in every area of your life. You thrive in your relationship. You thrive with your self-confidence. You will thrive in your finances. You thrive in your career, in your job, in every area. Which area do you want to thrive in? It needs to, first of all, start with your value, who you are. Because when you find it, you will soar. It will soar. Yeah.
Beautiful. So what would you say to someone who may be questioning? They don't know who they are. They've never had the opportunity to really know. They may have been in a controlling situation their whole life. What would you say to her?
I would say to you who feel like you don't know who you are, is to first of all tell you that, do you know you were born for a reason? You were born for a purpose. If you could know that you were born for a purpose, then that is when you begin to actually know that you are valuable. Sorry, I've got my... That is when you know that you're valuable. And that is when you begin to know how important, how valuable you are. And that is when you start finding out, how can I, who are you as a person? What is your power? What are your strengths? Because sometimes we live life feeling that, oh, I'm shit, I can't do it, I'm so bad, I'm so horrible, because people have made us to believe that we are bad, we are horrible, right? You may be watching me. You are a loving mom. You are a compassionate sister, or you are a kind friend. You are a, I don't know, what name can you give yourself? Just think of those good things, those good things that you can bring out from you. That begins to give you a sense of who you are, irrespective of what people say you are.
Absolutely. You are valuable and you are able to decide who
Yeah.
you are as well, I'd offer.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have the choice. You have the
Mhm.
choice. I always say we've been given a massive gift in life, and that gift is called choice. We've got a choice. It's a blessing. Every day we are presented with a choice. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be sad? Do you want to continue living in pain or do you want to get out of pain? Do you want to continue surviving or do you want to thrive? We are given a choice, and only you can make that choice. And that is something that we have it, and we don't need to let anybody take that choice away from us.
Choice
Yeah.
is a power we have always,
Yeah,
definitely,
absolutely.
wherever we can find it. So I love that. So well said. Is there anything else you'd like to add for us today, Peggy?
Another thing I would just like to add is, coming from where I came from, it's about choosing to accept responsibility for our life and our happiness. Complete responsibility. The first time I read about how to accept responsibility for my life on my happiness, I was so upset. I was like, why should I? Why should I accept? Why should I accept everything that I've been through? It's not my fault. I did nothing wrong. But the reason why I responded that way is because I didn't understand what it meant to accept responsibility. I felt that maybe accept responsibility means I'm guilty, or I am, it's my fault, or it makes me feel shameful. But no, accepting responsibility is like saying that, you know what, I acknowledge that there is something within me that needs to be changed. And if I can change those areas within me, then I can be the best that I can become. So when we get to that point, then we embrace whatever we've been through, the past, the present, the future. We accept responsibility of our life and happiness. And when we do that, then that is where we just continue to win and win and win and thrive and thrive and thrive in life, because your life and your happiness is in your hands.
So good. It's kind of like saying we don't need to argue with reality. It happened. Now
Yeah,
let's accept the responsibility of what we want to make that mean and how we design our life moving forward.
absolutely.
So good.
Absolutely.
Peggy, we're so thrilled to have you with us today. I just love learning more about you and talking to you. I love the work that you're doing out in the world. Thank you for turning your pain into gain so that others can as well. If you would like to find out more about Peggy and her new book being released next week, I Am Thriving Now, you can go to iamthrivingnow.com. And if you have a story you'd like to share, please reach out at survivors@bestkeptsecrets.com. And to learn more about Lifehouse Project, please visit lifehouseproject.org. And we would love to have you learn more about our organization, and like, comment, and share on these videos so that people can hear the important stories that are being told and learn more about how we can stop domestic violence and human trafficking. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.